I was working as a hairdresser in Hamilton. I developed carpal tunnel. I actually lost full capability of my hands to be able to return to hairdressing. Mentally, it took a huge toll because I'd lost the one thing that I was so passionate about and was building a future. And when it came to the debt repayments, I just freaked out. I couldn't do it. The pressures of people trying to contact me all the time just would stop answering calls. I got sick of opening letters, wanting to have good meals for the kids, and I guess not being able to afford the right foods. I started to feel quite ashamed, and I ended up hitting like rock bottom. At the time, I lost the sort of passion to want to be a parent because I didn't think I could parent, especially in the mental state that I was in. There was a sort of turning point for me where I had just decided, like, I just can't be here anymore. The kids will be better off with my family. I felt like I'd failed as a mum. I have a close childhood friend. I messaged her and I'd said to her, like, this is goodbye. She organised me all this amazing help with psychologists, organisations in Nelson that help with mental health. I heard about Kat from my counsellor. The first call that I made to Kat, I was definitely nervous, not only for talking to someone who was Christian, but also the facing of who I really owed. All the negative thinking I had about not being worth it or not capable started changing when I started to do something about things. The next step was when Dave, my CAP coach, came and met me for the first time. He was real honest and real about things. At the end of our time together, he'd asked if he could pray for me. One of the things he prayed about was for there to be a time that my boys will come back into my care and for us to have, a healthy, loving house. And at the time, it was sort of that is my goal, and knowing that this is part of that step to get those kids back to me. Things in me mentally improved, I could breathe. When I had my next appointment, to have someone say, we've worked it out and it's going to be this many years and you'll be out of it, that was just wow, there was so much hope that I had. I wasn't fearful anymore. All the wraparound support that I received while working with Kat was just mind-blowing. It wasn't just about we're just working with money and we're just doing budgets. It made me feel supported as a whole. It got to the point where I was ready to have the boys come live with me. Dave had talked to me about a camp for clients. I was really excited because we've never really had a holiday. While on camp, we had a worship service where the topic was grace, something that I didn't know anything about. I guess it resonated with me in the sense that there were things in my life that I have regret or I have guilt or shame about, but to sort of hear that there's hope for being forgiven for all of that. I remember sitting there, got this feeling in me, and it's hard to explain, but when I got that feeling in me, I knew it meant something. And that's when I decided that I wanted to become a Christian, let Jesus into my life. It just flooded me and it felt right. Wasn't long after the camp, I became debt-free. I remember my cheeks hurting because I was just smiling so much because it was unreal. I was so excited, even excited right now, thinking about that phone call. I think seeing the benefit now too, now that I don't have debt, the benefit for my kids pushes me to keep making better choices. Getting to drive to the beach, not having to worry about petrol. The other week we went and got frozen yogurts. I'm just reminded in those moments that, wow, you're not in debt anymore. You can do this without feeling guilty. And, I don't know if other people understand, but for me, they were big moments. I'm definitely more optimistic about the possibilities. Having a head that's clearer, that isn't worrying about finances all the time. Now I'm at the end of a 3-year degree for counselling to be able to help people in all aspects of their life. Since making the commitment, my faith's definitely grown. Attending church every week, that's something that has just added another element of awesomeness into my life and my kids' lives. Without Cap, I'd be in such a different situation right now. I wouldn't have my kids, I wouldn't have a house. I just want to create just a loving home. That's all I want. And I think that's all any mum or dad wants.